If you owe back taxes to the IRS, you know that they charge all sorts of penalties plus interest and even interest on top of the penalties. Given enough time, the penalties and interest can significantly increase what you owe. These penalties pile up so fast that they can quickly make a difficult situation nearly impossible to manage. This is the first of a two-part series on penalties and interest. In this first video, I'm going to discuss exactly how much IRS charges in penalties. In a second video, I'll go over how to get rid of some of those penalties and maybe even a little interest. All right, let's get started. Right after the intro. What's up, everyone? Adam here from Legacy Tax. We are the premier tax resolution firm in the United States. We've helped thousands of clients with unfiled tax returns, back taxes, tax liens, and of course, IRS levies. You don't have to fight the IRS alone. You can reach us at 1-877-538-9546. You can also check us out online. Go to www.levyking.com. We've also put out a free ebook called End the Tax Nightmare: Insider Secrets to Beat the IRS and Reduce Your Tax Debt. Inside the book, we'll show you how to stop IRS levies, liens, and garnishments without paying the tax in full. How to set up the payment plan that you need, and not the one that they want you to have. How to potentially settle your tax debt for less than you actually owe. Our book has been a top seller on Amazon for years, and you can buy it right now for $19.99. But I want to give you a copy of the book absolutely free. Just go over to our website, www.endthetaxnightmare.com, and enter your name and email, and we'll send you a copy right away. No charge. Not even for shipping. Totally free. Before we go any further with the video, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and hit the notification bell so you'll get a heads up each time we drop a new video. Okay, let's dive into today's content. The IRS charges many different types of penalties, and they are required by law to charge interest on any balance due and on the penalties they charged on those balances. Today, we're going to go over some of the more common types of penalties that we see here at Legacy Tax. The first penalty we're going to discuss is a big one. It's the failure to file penalty. When you don't file your tax return by the due date, the IRS assesses a penalty. Individual taxpayers are normally required to file by April 15th. If April 15th falls on a weekend, you'll normally get an additional day or two to file. Of course, individuals and corporations can always file an extension, allowing an additional 6 months to file your return. But if you don't file your return and you don't file an extension, the IRS charges 5% of the tax that is due every single month until you file your tax return. 5% might not seem like a lot, but it can add up very, very quickly. Next is the failure to pay penalty. If you file a tax return with a balance due and you don't pay that balance within 10 days, the IRS is going to charge a penalty. Side note, filing an extension does give you an extra 6 months to file, but it does not give you extra time to pay. Many people get that confused. The IRS wants to get paid on time, regardless of whether you actually file on time. And if you don't pay on time, the failure to pay penalty is half of 1% per month until the tax is paid in full. If you enter into an installment agreement to pay the tax debt, the monthly penalty drops down to 0.25% instead of 0.5%. The accuracy-related penalty comes into play when you file a tax return that significantly understates the amount of tax that is due. The penalty amount is 20% when the error is caused by simple negligence, but can increase to 40% for a more flagrant, that is, intentional, misstatement of what you should owe. If you are self-employed, you are probably required to make estimated quarterly tax deposits to the IRS. If you don't deposit your estimated quarterly tax payments or make the deposit late, the IRS will charge you a penalty which will be determined based upon how late you make the deposit. For example, if you're a day late, the penalty is 2%. If you're a week late, the penalty is 5%. If the deposit is really late, the penalty can be 15%. In addition to the penalties, IRS also charges interest on the tax and also interest on the penalties. The IRS is required by law to charge interest when you do not pay the amount you owe on time. Generally, they charge interest from the due date of your return, regardless of extensions, until you pay the amount you owe in full, including all interest and penalty charges. The interest rate is calculated based off something called the federal short-term rate plus an additional 3%. The current short-term rate is about 1.5%. So right now the IRS interest rate is 4.5% per month compounded quarterly. Let's look at a typical example to get a feel for how this might play out. Let's say you failed to file your tax returns for 2016, 17, and 18. You file them now, and each return shows a balance due of $5,000 or a total of $15,000 for the 3 years combined. But once IRS tax on the failure to file penalty, the failure to pay penalty, plus interest on the tax, as well as interest on the penalties, you'll owe more than $8,000 for each year, or nearly $25,000 in total. That's if you pay it in full right now. The interest and the failure to pay penalty will continue to accrue even after you have filed the returns until the balance is paid in full. Even if you set up a payment plan, the interest continues to compound quarterly while you're making payments. It is not uncommon for a person's balance to actually increase despite making monthly payments. This is because the interest and penalties are increasing the debt faster than your monthly payments are bringing it down. Now, there is some good news. You may qualify for relief from some penalties if you tried to comply with the requirements of the law but weren't able to meet your tax obligations. In the second video in our series, we're going to talk about strategies to get the IRS to remove some of the penalties and maybe some of the interest, which will ultimately reduce your tax debt. Speaking of tax debt, I want you to know that there are special programs in place to help you get a fresh start and get out from under the weight of your tax problem. But how do you know if you qualify? No two cases are exactly alike, so how do you know exactly what your options are? Well, I've created a free tool to help get you qualified for a fresh start. Just head over to www.levyking.com or click the link below. Follow the prompts and answer a few simple questions, and we'll help you figure out your eligibility. That website again is www.levyking.com, or you can give us a call at 1-877-538-9546. That number again is 1-877-538-9546. That's it for this week. Talk to you later.